Yeah. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Clausen.
Here.
Commissioner Cox.
Here.
Commissioner Graven. Here. Commissioner Phipps.
Here.
Mayor Hall.
Here. Consent agenda. Items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. No separate discussion of these items will occur unless a council member requests the item to be removed from the consent agenda. If an item is removed from the consent agenda, it will be considered elsewhere on the agenda for this meeting. Prior to asking for a motion to approve the consent agenda, the mayor will ask if anyone desires to remove an item from the consent agenda for public discussion. Would anybody like to have any item removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I move that the minutes of the regular meeting of April the 4th, 2023, the bills and payroll for the first half of April 2023, and resolution number 2023-3242, approving the continuance of a local state of emergency due to coronavirus, COVID-19. I have a second on that motion.
Second.
I'll go with Commissioner Cox on that one, and roll call.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Graven. Yes. Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes. Presentations, petitions, and communications. This portion of the city council meeting is reserved for persons who desire to address the council. The Illinois Open Meetings Act mandates that the city council may not take action on comments received on matters that have not been identified on this agenda, but the council may direct staff to address the topic or refer the matter for action on the agenda for another meeting. Persons addressing the council are requested to limit their presentation to 3 minutes to avoid repetitious comments. We would also ask you state your name and address for the record as well as stand when speaking. Okay, before we get started on those comments, I would like to take the items related to the sports complex and move those right before the motion is made. Is that okay with everybody? Can we do that?
You're wanting to move all of them?
So the ones that relate to the sports complex so that we can have a connection. And also, of course, the public
Presentation.
also has a chance to ask questions.
Okay.
Is it all right to do that?
With the presentation then too?
Yeah, and we'll do the, presentation, yeah. So is there anybody that has any other items other than those related to the sports complex? Is anybody online have any items that would relate to something other than the sports complex? Okay. Okay, so hearing none, we'll go directly, excuse me. You have a question? Oh, cool. All right, so we're going to go right to the new business then.
Okay. I make a motion to approve council decision request 2023-2349, approving the budget amendments to provide for the adjustments experienced throughout fiscal year 23, which ends on April 30th, 2023.
Can we have a second to that motion?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Commissioner Phipps. And does anybody have any questions or comments about this? Okay. Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Graven. Yes. Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes.
I make a motion to adopt special ordinance 2023-1856, adopting the budget for the fiscal year that begins May 1, 2023 and ends April 30th, 2024.
And a second on that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Clausen, and any comments on that or questions about that item?
I just want to thank Beth and Susan for all the work they helped with that. So
Okay.
definitely a team effort. So
Great. All right, no other questions. We'll go to roll call then.
Commissioner Graven. Yes. Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2023-3243, prescribing contributions required of employees and retirees who elect to participate in the group health, group Medicare, and life insurance plan of the municipality.
A second on that motion.
I'll second.
Commissioner Cox, and any questions or comments on that Motion. You're hearing none, a roll call.
Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Graven.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes. I move to adopt ordinance number 2023-1857, establishing the 2023-2024 compensation plan for managerial and non-union managerial employees of the municipality. Can I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Commissioner Graven, and comments on that?
I just say it's the 2.5%, and same as the unions, the police and ASME unions.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, none, roll call.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Graven.
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2023-5463, amending section 50.096 rates for the sewer service and section 51.098 rates for water service of the municipal code to set water and sewer rates effective May 1, 2023.
And a second on that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Commissioner Phipps, comments? Anybody?
I'll just say that that's a 2% decrease in, and should probably start by taking questions.
Okay. Any questions on that? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Graven.
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes.
Move to adopt ordinance number 2023-5464, amending section 50.096 rates for wastewater haulers of the municipal code to establish wastewater hauler rates effective May 1, 2023.
And a second on that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Commissioner Phipps, any comments on that?
So in this case, these rates are related to people who deliver waste to the wastewater treatment plant. And so like people that pump out septic tanks and people that haul grease traps and those kinds of things. And traditionally, those rates have been set by the wastewater superintendent, and they haven't been codified. The rates haven't been increased in quite a while. And so we've made an adjustment for inflation in comparison with rates that other municipalities charge. We are very attractive for a lot of other communities to do. We want to make sure our rates are high enough that not getting big tanker loads from every community around. But for those people who do, which to haul from other communities, that we're charging a fair rate.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Graven.
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes. I move to adopt ordinance number 2023-5465, amending Title 15, Land Usage, Chapter 162 of the Municipal Code of Ordinances to define non-living landscaping and outdoor seating dining areas and to provide for outdoor seating and dining areas requirements. And can I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Commissioner Phipps? And anybody comments on that?
I would like so really quickly.
Okay.
We have a landscaping requirement that we had established a few years ago. And I do give credit when people do something attractive outside their business that isn't necessarily just landscaping, like an outdoor seating area. And I'm just making that official to encourage, that way the word written in front of someone when they do build a new restaurant, that is an idea of how to accomplish something. I'll just say cool. That satisfies one of the requirements that they already have.
Clear, everybody? Okay, and we'll take a roll call on that one.
Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Graven.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes.
And that-
Now, before we go to this motion, we're going to ask people to make what comment. The next two motions relate to the sports complex. And so anybody that has, I know we've got a couple presentations, but if anybody has any questions We ought to start actually with a couple of comments that we've got prepared, because that may answer some questions that others have. So I think Blake Pierce, if you would come forward and say who you are and where you live.
Blake Pierce, 53 Fairway Lane, I'm here in Mattoon, and I serve as the president of Mattoon Sports Complex, Inc. I want to thank you all for your patience, the process of this project. The idea, we're coming up on 4 years ago, but first it was thought up. I think we unveiled it to the public a year and a half ago. And as you all know, there's been a whole lot of meetings and figuring out things ever since then to get us to the point, I think, that we're at today, that seeing some action. Our board, the Mattoon Sports Complex Inc. board, is made up of a number of community members and representing some of our large community partners that have good experience with sports or youth athletics. And we had our board meeting yesterday. We unanimously approved a resolution to go forward with this first phase of the project. And we stated one of the aspects of the funding mechanism for both phase 1 and phase 2 was the need to raise $10 million. And I'm proud to report that as of yesterday, we've exceeded that goal by $10,000. So we've been chipping away at that. And so we have commitments in excess of the need that we needed for capital stack. And I think that just demonstrates the amount of support that this project has throughout the business and individual community members. The last item I was going to mention was the whole purpose of this project is to be an economic driver and to bring additional business to town, to bring us amenities that are going to encourage people to want to locate to Mattoon, stay in Mattoon, and grow their businesses in Mattoon. And to that end, we've seen tremendous progress on the commercial development side of interest within our community, that assuming this project goes forward, we should be able to see the benefits of that very quickly. So with that, I would appreciate your support. And once we get to the motions, I entertain any questions you have. But I do want to introduce John Hanson, who will guide you through the presentation. Hopefully not to sleep if you time.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be before you today. My name is John Hanson. I'm with IRR Corporate and Public Finance with offices at 1901 West 47th Place, Westwood, Kansas. We serve as financial advisor to the overall project, and I'm very excited to be before you this evening. There's been a lot of work happen, as you all know. I know Mayor Hall, Kyle Gill has kept you abreast of things that we have been working on, but we're going to quickly summarize what's the status of the project, phase 1, phase 2, where are we at, and what do we need from you tonight to move forward. So thank you again for the opportunity to be here. So we'll talk about that overall project status. I'll talk about this very specific phase 1 plan of finance that we have before you. These things are pinned down to a much, much higher level of detail than what we presented to you last July and August, and we're very happy to report that we've pulled the castle stack and we're ready, with your permission, to move forward with phase 1. We'll also talk about the project agreement ordinance, which is the motion before you tonight to allow us to move forward with phase 1. And we'd be remiss not to give you at least an update of what phase 2 is looking like at this point as well, to give you an idea of what that looks like going forward. Key accomplishments since last summer. I was tasked with trying to summarize this to one slide. So there's a lot of other things that have happened, but I think these capture the key ones. First and foremost, you all created last September a business district and implemented the business district sales tax. By your actions, then Illinois Department of Revenue did its actions in January 1 this year. That business district sales tax began being remitted. We formed the nonprofit that Blake referenced, Mattoon Sports Complex, Inc., Illinois not-for-profit corporation, and also successfully got the IRS 501c3 designation by a determination letter just a couple of weeks ago. A bond issuer was selected. You all directed us last summer to make sure that we found another issuer other than the city to issue these bonds. We did that. Eastern Illinois Economic Development Authority is one of about a dozen economic development authorities around the state, perfectly commissioned to do this type of bond issue for communities, and we are in their jurisdiction. So good fit there. We assembled a bond finance team, bond counsel, underwriters, a host of participants. We have weekly calls and have for months now, a group of 25 or so folks working on just this particular bond issue. We've selected a contractor for a project. We've finalized the cost of the project. Donations have been committed, as Blake reported, met and exceeded just slightly the goal that we had. Bank loans have been committed to the project, and again, with your permission, we're ready to break ground on May 31st. Excited to do that. The specific plan of finance for phase one is as follows. Not all the donations have been received in cash. We have written donation commitments, as Blake indicated, over $10 million. The lender on the project, First Mid, is prepared if and when those donations have not been received in cash to make a loan to the project until those donations are received in cash. So the combination of donations received and the donations bank loan equal that $10 million. We have another grant for $1 million. Bank, a primary, what I would call a primary bank loan on the project, which has a mortgage on the sports facility itself. It is debt serviced by net operating income of the sports facility. It is ready to go at a level of $7.5 million. We have current underwriting estimates from Hilltop, the underwriter for the bond issue, that we're prepared to do. Net proceeds of that bond issue, $15.85 million. That gives us about $2.55 million in surplus, which we're happy to report. It's nice to have a little bit of margin. We don't know exactly where the bonds will execute in a few weeks. We have good estimates, well-informed estimates, but it's good to have a little bit of margin for error. The uses of the project are outlined there. If you have any questions, we have a very specific bid for $21.3 million for the indoor sports complex. We have infrastructure costs and other categories of the project. Happy to answer any questions with respect to those. Before you tonight is the project agreement. This is the project agreement and the ordinance that enables it. It's the sole action that we need from the city council at this point to move forward with the bond issue and move forward with phase one of the project. The parties of that project agreement, as you'll see in your packet, are Mattoon Sports Complex Inc. and the city. That agreement terminates on March 31st, 2046. That's consistent with the term of the business district and the flow of revenues from it. The key obligations, of course, of MSC nonprofit are to acquire, own, finance, construct, and operate the project. All obligations that we wanted that nonprofit to undertake, they have agreed to do. The city's key obligation, now that the business district is formed and the taxes are being collected, is once received from the state to transfer those dollars to the bond trustee after we've had our bond closing and provide some reporting related to it. But those are the key obligations of the city under the project agreement. If there are questions about the project agreement, we're happy to go into those as well. As a refresher, this is the business district boundary that was approved last September. Just wanted to put this in to refresh folks and visually show the boundaries of the map. Obviously, you have Walmart on the left-hand side of the screen, Home Depot on the right, quite a bit of undeveloped land that will become sports complex and new commercial development south and east of Home Depot. We've drawn a very specific boundary within the business district called Flint Business District Revenues Area. Only a portion of the business district is developed with this. And bondholders are only going to give us credit for what is up and running and developed. So we've drawn a boundary around it. So bondholders, you get all the revenue from everything in this maroon line. Anything that's created outside of that is not bondholders' bond collateral. So that can be reserved for phase two or other uses of the city so deems. But we weren't going to get credit for donating revenue for speculative development outside of this maroon boundary. So we're not giving it to bondholders. We're reserving it for maximum flexibility into the future. So that's basically, and those are the actions that we need from you tonight as approval of that ordinance to move forward with that bond issue. But we did want to provide an update on phase two. Any surplus, and this is, all these numbers are consistent with our March 3rd analysis that I know you all received a few weeks ago. And so this is really just a summarization of that information. Any indoor or phase one surplus is going to be available for phase two. In our analysis at that time, we thought it was only going to be $200,000. Bond market has improved a little bit. We think it's going to be closer to $2.5 million. That's good news, but whatever that surplus is, it'll be available for the project. We think ultimately, at the end of the day, we'll get grants for all the public infrastructure, about $4 million. We haven't received all of those grants yet, but we do think we will ultimately be successful in those, so that's a source for phase two. Upon completion of the outdoor complex, we'll have additional net operating income from the sport facility that'll allow us to get a larger bank loan. First mid associated with the mortgage on the outdoor sports facility. Then the balance of the sources for phase two will be made up of net bond proceeds. If 100% of the commercial development is committed and ready to go when we're ready to do the phase two bond issue, we'll have bond capacity of about $41 million. Now, we don't have to wait until we have 100% commitment in commercial development because that provides about $8.7 million of surplus to go to phase two. What that means is when we're about 80% or so committed on the commercial side, we'll be ready to come back to you and be at the same point we are at phase one right now and say, good news, with your permission, we're ready to move forward with phase two. So about 80% is where we estimate that to be. The cost of phase two is outlined here. We can go through this, very consistent with what we talked about last July, last summer. Of course, as we get closer to being ready to pull the trigger on phase two, we'll have more design, better estimates of costs, things of that nature. So expect some changes there, but we believe these estimates are still solid estimates at this point. When we come back for phase two, just as a reminder, while phase one is a very simple business district tax only bond issue, phase two, by its necessity, by the size that we need, is going to be a little bit more complicated. It's likely to include, although none of this is set in stone, you all have to take action to approve these things, but our strategy at this point includes these items. Tax increment finance, which redirects the property taxes from the new commercial development. City sales tax rebate of 1.5%, hotel occupancy tax rebate, and a fee of 2%, which acts a lot like a sales tax, but it's legally and technically a private fee. And as well as the remainder of that business district sales tax rate, that area that we did not pledge to this phase one bond issue will be available to the phase two bond issue. So it'll be a multi-layer approach. It's going to be a larger bond issue, roughly double, maybe a little bit more, the size of this phase one bond issue, and it'll be additional revenue streams to make it successful. That phase two bond structure, I wanted to reiterate this because all of these parameters are also true of the phase one bonds, and I thought it would just be good to go back over these, what the safeguards are, what the advantages of doing the bonds are. I'll be brief. So first of all, these revenue bonds are fixed rate, long-term, non-rated, non-recourse bonds. So when the bonds are sold, the bondholders own the risk associated with the performance. Are the revenue streams that pledged to the bond issue going to be sufficient? That's up to the bondholders, and those are sophisticated bondholders. It's up to them to determine, is that a wise risk for them? It's not a risk of the city. It's not a risk of MSAI or any other tax jurisdiction. We will, just as we did for the phase one bonds, we'll ensure that we use another issuer. Could well be Eastern Illinois Economic Development Authority again. If for some reason that doesn't work, we'll find another issuer that's not the city of Mattoon. The debt service on the bonds will solely be from those public finance revenues. Again, no guarantees to the bondholders and no obligation to guarantee by any tax jurisdictions. We'll put safeguards in place so the bondholders believe it's a good investment. We'll have things like debt service coverage ratio, debt service reserve funds, a host of things. And all of those things are part of the bonds that we're doing for phase one as well to attract buyers. And then finally, we'll make sure that we're selling those bonds to sophisticated investors that can evaluate the risks of buying those bonds, can accept a loss on those bonds if they don't receive full payment of principal and interest. But the phase 2 bond structure, we expect to have all the same types of characteristics as phase 1, just more revenue streams put to it. Overall, the project timeline, approximately with your approval tonight, we hope to have a groundbreaking on May 31st. And we hope to be having a ribbon cutting and an opening of the facility in Q2 of 2024. Then it will depend on the pace in which we can get commercial development, new commercial development surrounding Oviedo in that general area. But we hope that the outdoor sports facility will be quickly on its heels and opening in Q1 of 2025. So I think the other thing that's good that we haven't talked about since last July or August is what are the economic benefits of this project. I think it's wise for us to look at and say, why have we been doing all this work? What is the point of this project? So here's a few highlights. As a reminder, the property tax being generated off of the area around Home Depot that the sports complex become the new commercial development is only producing about $7,500 worth of property taxes today. And only about 1,800 of that goes to the city of Mattoon. We'd like to change that, of course. We're going to create jobs both at the sports facility and at the new commercial development and businesses that support those businesses. We estimate 1,150 permanent jobs. That's 695 jobs on site permanent and 450 jobs on businesses that support those businesses. And about 760 full-time equivalent construction jobs. Of course, those would be temporary, just during construction of the new commercial development and sports, but substantially more construction jobs. Economic impacts are substantial over a 30-year period. $3.3 billion of economic impact. It's about a $200 million project in total. That's the sports facility and the new commercial development together. And we estimate annual non-local visitors of nearly $250,000, 250,000 visitors to the project. So very excited about that. Tax revenue impacts, particularly to the city of Mattoon, $41 million. That's over a 30-year period. That's $27.8 million of direct tax revenue to the city of Mattoon. $13.4 million is indirect. And then we've estimated the impact to the 4 largest taxing jurisdictions here, a grand total of $84 million of tax revenue impacts to those jurisdictions. We're very excited that we've been able to work through phase 1. Phase 2 is looking good. And these are the impacts. This is the reason why we've been working on this for so long and brought such a large team together to make this happen. I presented to you in July and asked for a recommendation for your staff, for us, for the entire team to start working on this. We made a commitment to you as part of that. And I'm proud to say that we've met the commitment. So what exposure, what risk did we make sure and avoid for the city? The city does not own the facility, and SCI will. They do not issue the bonds. Eastern Illinois Economic Development Authority will. The city and no other taxing jurisdiction will guarantee any of the revenues to bondholders, and there's no risk associated that the city is taking on with respect to that. And in exchange for that risk mitigation, we still have strong benefits to the city, facility and amenity that the entire community can be proud of. $41 million of tax benefit over 30 years to the city, 695 homes on-site jobs, and nearly 4 million visitors. So with that, happy to answer any questions, but our recommended steps are your consideration of the business district project agreement that's before you tonight. And if so, we're then looking forward to seeing you at the groundbreaking on May 31st. Thank you, Mayor.
Does anybody have any questions in the audience here today or anybody online offhand. We're still going to get to an opportunity for people to make other comments here. But if you have any questions now, it'd be a good time to try to get those answered.
I have a question.
Okay? Who's speaking, please?
This is Roy Blackburn, 1000 Lafayette Avenue.
You need to spell that name. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I was watching through the presentation and the part that caught my eye was the raising of taxes. Is that for Coles County or Mattoon specifically?
Go, okay, John will answer that. He stepped up here, I think.
Yep, absolutely. So there is no raising of taxes. Can we go back to the slideshow? Uh,
Okay, well,
So we'll flip to the slide here momentarily, but those are not tax obligations of those taxing jurisdictions. Those are tax revenue benefits to the city of Mattoon, the school district, Coles County, et cetera. Those are tax revenues that do not exist today, that are estimated to be created as a result over a 30-year period of doing the sports complex and the adjacent new commercial development.
John, is it safe to say that people that own property today, not incremental growth in that area that we've identified, they are not going to see any property tax increases?
That's right.
And
We're just using the exact mill levy that the city has today, just projecting that new growth occurring in that area.
does that answer your question?
I'd like you to go back to the public finance slide if you would. Multiple layer approach is the name of it.
No, that's that.
There we go. So is that not saying that sales tax will increase? And then it says property tax increase right there.
Yeah, that doesn't mean property tax rates are increasing. It means that today, the substantially cornfields that are undeveloped, producing $7,500 worth of property taxes. When we build new commercial development to the east of Home Depot and in that surrounding area, that will create increased property tax revenue that will be captured by the TIF district and used to retire bond obligations.
Understood there. Okay. And then the city, the sales tax rebate, how does that work? Like 1.5% back? Is that what that's saying?
Exactly. So we will put before the city council a rebate agreement that captures new sales tax from the new commercial development that does not exist today at a rate of 1.5% to rebate that back to the project.
Understood. Okay. And then the rest is the same thing. Okay.
Same basic concept, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, John. And thank you, City Council.
John, can I, just as a follow-up to his question, the tax impact to the city, you say is 41 million over 30 years. And that obviously does not include the 1.5 sales tax that we're giving back. So how's that 41? Is that generated from the ancillary area with additional sales tax? Is that how you kind of get towards that number?
Yes, we get to that number and we anticipate, while the pledge of these revenues, TIF is limited to 23 years. These other revenue streams, we would cap at 30 years. Business district revenues are also 23. We anticipate that if projected revenues occur, that those bonds will pay off long before 30-year maturity, probably somewhere in the low,
I see.
approximately 20-year range. So when we look at a 30-year projection benefit, we show the bonds retiring and then increased revenue going to all taxing jurisdictions.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions, anybody online or anybody in the audience here? Any commissioners? Yeah. Okay. Everybody ready to move forward with the actual motion?
You bet.
You're up.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2023-5466, authorizing the city's execution and delivery of a project agreement with Mattoon Sports Complex, Inc., relating to the acquisition, construction, financing, and operation of a business district project pursuant to the Remington Road and I-57 Business District Plan, and transfer by the city of a portion of certain business district sales tax revenue to be pledged by the Mattoon Sports Complex, Inc., pursuant to a loan agreement securing certain Eastern Illinois Economic Development Authority Business District Revenue Bonds, Series 2023, to be issued by the Eastern Illinois Economic Development Authority to fund certain costs of such project.
Can we have a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Commissioner Phipps? And any other comments anybody would like to make?
I do have a quick question. Is there any chance that these are going to be double exempt bonds?
You might repeat that question.
Is there any chance these are going to be double exempt bonds, meaning they're going to be exempt in Illinois as well as federal?
Yeah, so
Make
Well,
them more
depending on who
attractive.
purchases them, but they are eligible to be
Okay.
double exempt purchasers that reside in the state of Illinois.
Great.
It will absolutely be federally tax exempt bonds.
Just makes them more attractive. Okay.
Any other comments? Questions? Roll call.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Graven,
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps,
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes. I move to adopt resolution number 2023-3244, approving an agreement for technical services and assistance between the city of Mattoon and Peckham, Guyton, Albers, and Vitz Planning LLC, normally known as PGAV, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the contract for professional services and other relevant documents. Can I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Commissioner Cox, any questions on what this is? Anybody?
I'll just say this is very similar to what we did for the business district. It's almost the exact same document, so.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for the audience online? Okay. Roll call.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Graven,
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes. I move to approve council decision request 2023-2350, appointing Jacob Hickson to the Public Works Advisory Board for an unexpired term of 12/31/24. Can I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
And any comments anybody has? This is an FYI. I talked to Mr. Hickson. He was recommended by several people. He's got an industry engineering graduate of EIU. He's been a plant manager. He's on the Coles County Landlord Association Committee, and I happen to know he has 2 children. So with that said, if anybody has any questions about that, we'll go ahead and take a roll call.
Commissioner Graven,
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes.
I move to approve council decision request 2023-2351, awarding the 2023 water treatment plant chemical bids from May to October to Alexander Chemical Corp. for alum at 16.3 cents per pound, Water Solutions Unlimited for ammonium sulfate at 65 cents per pound, Air Gas USA LLC for carbon dioxide at 15 cents per pound, Polydyne Incorporated for cationic polymer at $1.05 per pound, Alexander Chemical Corp. for chlorine at $1.37 per pound, Chemstream Midwest for fluoride at 39.9 cents per pound, Water Solutions Unlimited for permanganate at $1.34 per pound, and Water Solutions Unlimited for phosphate blend at $1.02 per pound. Nailed it.
Wow. Would anybody like to second that motion?
Oh, my. He did such a good job off.
Commissioner Cox,
Practice all weekend, Dave. My
yeah,
wife got tired of hearing.
you did really a remarkable job.
Yeah.
You stumbled a little bit there early on, but not on this one, but before.
Oh,
Before.
well, it'll be on the tape.
Okay. So any questions about those bids? Okay, and roll call.
Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Graven.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes.
I move to approve council decision request 2023-2352, approving a $3,000 grant by the Tourism Advisory Committee from FY 22-23 Festival Management Funds to the Mattoon YMCA in support of the Run for the Bagel event on July 23rd, 2023, and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement.
Can I have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Phipps? And anybody, comments? Angelique, anybody?
This is the 36th annual Run for the Bagel, which built into a part of the bagel budget. But I think it's important because it has tourism value to bring it to the board, the council, and review it. So that's why you guys see it here. But it's very strong.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Graven.
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes.
I move to approve council decision request 2023-2353, approving a $4,000 grant by the Tourism Advisory Committee from FY 22-23 Hotel Motel Tax Funds to the Mattoon YMCA in support of the Last Chance Try to be held September 24, 2023, and for the Ghouls in the Pool swim meet to be held October 28, 2023, and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement.
Can I have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Phipps? And any comments on that one? Nothing, Angela? Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Graven.
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes.
I move to approve council decision request 2023-2354, approving a $10,000 grant by the Tourism Advisory Committee from FY 22-23 Hotel Motel Tax Funds to the Mattoon Hitmen Baseball Organization in support of the Hitmen 14U Spring Classic, Hitmen 11U Mother's Day Classic, Hitmen 8U through 10U Schools Out Slam, the Hitmen 12U, Hitmen 15U Classic, Hitmen 14U Grimes Field Games, Hitmen 12U Bragging Rights Tourney, and the Hitmen 15U Summer Showdown to be held in 2023, and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement.
Second on that motion?
Second.
Commissioner Clausen? Any comments on this one?
Yeah, the Hitmen have been reorganizing. They were a strong group for a long time. There was a little bit of a gap right around COVID, so they've been rebuilding. I referred to you guys earlier, probably a few weeks ago, that the Pride and the Cobras had reported that softball was really coming back. The Hitmen have really given us encouragement that baseball at the youngest level is being rebuilt and is coming back strong. So that's good.
There's literally hundreds of teams involved in this motion here,
Yeah.
and a lot of outside guests stay in hotels, et cetera, help our local economy also. Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Graven.
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes.
Move to approve council decision request 2023-2355, authorizing the employment of Jackson Ritter as a Parks Maintenance Worker 2 to the Parks Lakes Cemetery Department effective May 1, 2023, contingent upon successful completion of drug screen and background check.
Second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Phipps? Any comments?
Just we had some really good candidates. We narrowed it down to 3 interviews. And I think Jackson's applied for 3 different positions, interviews as well. So he's going to be a good addition to Bert. It'll be good.
Good.
All 3 candidates interviewed were very good. So
You want to say anything, Kurt?
Now, since you approved all these ball terms, I need one.
yeah,
This would be great.
yeah,
It'd be a good addition.
yeah.
Good deal. Roll call.
Commissioner Phipps.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Graven.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
Yes. Next part is what we called department reports. You find out what's going on in our departments in the city right now and kind of what's planned for the near future. We start with City Administrator Kyle Gill.
Last couple of weeks been very busy. Been working with John, and I'm going to thank John for all the work that they've done on the sports complex. Been working with Beth on the budgets and Susan on the health insurance. So been very busy last few weeks, and it'll just continue. We've got more things going on. We'll be working on jumping to the TIF district. start working on phase 2 of the sports complex and all the other stuff that goes on with economic development, helping Alex out, and I'll let him talk on some other projects that he's gonna say. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Questions for Kyle? Next is City Attorney Dan Jones.
Just additional stuff reporting back to the council. Tim Quackenbush, we had a court appearance. Tim came with his counsel, produced a lot of pictures. And Tim is making some slow progress. If you've been by his property, he's entered into an arrangement with Pilson's to rent out some of his property, and he's cleaned up that part. So at least there's some incentive for him to clean that up. So he's working on that. The judge is going to give him some more time to work on that. Brown Shoe Factory, we're still trying to get the owners served out in the Kansas City area. I checked this morning. Those sheriffs have not gotten them served yet, but we're going to stay on them.
There was a gentleman up there today that Chief Gaines went up and talked to that is supposed to be a partner. So
Oh, good.
we've asked.
Sure, he'll be there again tomorrow.
So
So we're having trouble in Kansas City area, you say, getting with some things.
Well, it's just taking time. We've got to get that's where the owners are.
John, are you out in that area?
yeah.
Private processor.
I just wondered, going back tomorrow, the next day.
They'll get them. It's just the administrative staff. Okay, but I answer questions about anything else we got going on.
City Clerk, Susan O'Brien.
Oh, just been busy with lots of HR and insurance. Otherwise, business as usual.
Any questions for Susan? Finance, Beth Wright.
I'm going to March 2022 report. The general fund, the first 11 months of the fiscal year, revenue of 24.3 million, expenditures of 20.5 million, for a net of 3.8. And you'll notice that the percent of budgets, revenues are over 100% just in the first 11 months. And expenditures in total 89.75. So really in line with where they should be. Compared to the year prior, that was revenues over expenditures of $3.5 million, so pretty comparable. Cash position at the end of March, citywide was 25.1 million, compared to 25.6 the month prior. I received the PTEL calculation this week from the county. We levied $5.1 million, and after PTEL we'll be getting 5.06. And so my estimation was close, but it was off by $67,000. So we received more than I estimated. The question came up at the last council meeting about the debt that the city has for the public works building that will be paid off December 1st of 2028. The mall improvements will be paid off in 1st of 2028. And the quality and improvements will be paid off November 1st of 2021. Revenue tracking. We received income tax since the last meeting, use tax, sales tax, telecommunications tax, and personal property tax. So year over year, we're ahead by 916,545. And the unrestricted cash in the general fund as of today is 12.2 million. And at the last meeting it was 11.8. So based upon all those revenues coming in, like I just mentioned, when we tracking unrestricted cash about 400,000. And that's all I have reports.
Any questions for Beth? Okay, go to Public Works, Dean Barber.
We will be having a citywide cleanup day on Saturday, June the 3rd. We're wrapping up the last couple of details that release should go out late this week. We haven't been able to have one since 2019 due to staffing shortages at the police house. And so we're excited to have that event back. We got a grant to connect the bike trail to the north end of McFall Road by Steak and Shake and the hotels at the east end of Broadway Avenue. That is Whitney's first, the new grant writer, Whitney's first public works successful grant. So I'm very excited about that.
What was the amount? 150,000?
150,000.
Good. Any questions for Dean? And, okay, next is Fire Chief Jeff Hilgoss.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start out, congratulations. What an exciting time. Mayor, out here watching, Blake, John. Seeing the number of meetings in this building to make this come to fruition, it's an exciting time. I'm like all kidding. My department. Since the last meeting, the guys answered 126 calls for service. Inspectors have done 8 inspections and follow-ups. They did EMS training and they're starting to do the annual hose testing. All our hose has to be tested for NFPA, so they're going to be doing that. They've already started that. That typically takes a couple weeks to do. Can't believe I'm going to do this, but I would like to publicly thank and give a shout out to police department.
Why would you?
Well, yesterday we had within a 1 hour time span, 6 calls. 4 of those calls came within 14 minutes of each other. We had police officers with one of our guys on the engine, one of their crews, and heard all this. And there was a lift assist. Somebody in the community had fallen, was not injured, just needed help out. Officers Chase Cole, Luke Wilson, and Sean Brunson told the shift captain, hey, we'll handle that. So they came over and helped out with the lift assistance. So it's, I'm proud of my guys all the time, but to see the 2 departments working so well together, that just benefits, our residents. So thank you to, that's all I've got unless anybody's got anything.
Thank you. But the chief from police department, he didn't actually do any of the lifting. Is that right? He's one of the strongest guys.
Self-blame.
So now,
I had to go on a couple calls yesterday.
okay, so now it's Chief Gaines' Sam Gaines' turn.
To echo a little bit about what Chief Hilgoss here said, it's been very exciting. Seems like all I get asked by friends and family outside of the city is, well, when's this coming? When's it gonna be here? Everybody's ready. So, really exciting, glad it's getting done, and thank you everyone for your hard work that you put into it. We had in the last 2 weeks, 1,075 calls for service and 46 arrests. That's all that.
Any questions for the police chief? All right, arts and tourism,
Thank you.
Angelia Burgett.
Have finished now. We have the beginning of an EIU exhibit happening with grad students, including a local Peyton Morrow, who has been pretty visible in the community with his art. He's a part of a group of 13. They're going to be in Blue Mountain this week. And we've got a lot of those special projects that we talked about last time in the works. Hopefully we'll have some good, exciting things to share soon about some extra things we're working on for the community. But in the meantime, we're working on 4th of July and Bagel Fest and Bagel Bites and Artworks and Garden Fest, and the list goes on. So it's a really busy summer, so lots of things to do.
Very good. Any questions for Angelia? Now we go to Alex Binishek, Community Development.
All right, yeah, again, really exciting stuff today. On that note, though, with all this development that's going on in the community, we got to start focusing on housing as a municipality. And so tomorrow I got a meeting with a potential housing developer regarding a potential subdivision in Mattoon. Also, we're starting a kickoff meeting with the Illinois Housing Development Authority for their community revitalization program that we're now a member of. We're going to be starting in May. Dunkin' Donuts is moving dirt. I'm sure everybody's really excited. So,
That's really happening?
outside of that, Whitney and I are the grant writer working with Lake Mattoon on some grants. We're gonna hopefully get like $600K for Lake Mattoon this year. Beyond that, don't really have too much else.
Okay. Just today, I heard that Dunkin' Donuts wasn't going to build there where they originally were planned. They're going to build someplace else. That's not true?
No.
Blake?
Big news to him.
All right. So, okay. Any questions for Alex? Next is comments by the council, starting alphabetically. Jim Clausen.
Just a couple things. Kurt and TJ are getting all the ball fields. The leagues are getting ready to get going, plus travel tournaments. Very busy time for them. Cemetery has done a lot of work with getting rid of some dead trees, making that look good. Memorial Day will be here quick. The campground at Lake Mattoon, or the two campgrounds, we got 105 campers, and we're full, and we got a waiting list, which is a good sign. And they are in there April 15th through October 15th. And then last, Kurt, Commissioner Cox, myself are on the dog park committee. We're getting ready to hopefully get the parking lots concreted, and we're also putting in some exercise equipment for all the dog lovers. And that park is getting a lot of use. So
Great.
It's been a good addition. Yeah. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Any questions? Commissioner Clausen? Next is Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Mayor. Unfortunately, I would like to express my sincere condolences to Melissa Harden, her son Skylar Harden. Melissa and Skylar have both been on our Arts Council for several years. Both very passionate, hardworking folks, and do a lot of good and a lot of work here in the city of Mattoon. Melissa's husband, Skylar's father, Mark, passed away unexpectedly over the weekend, so I'd like to send our condolences to Melissa and Skylar. On a more positive note, I did see today, and as I was pretty excited as a EIU alum, that Administrator Gill's daughter Peyton was awarded as a EIU Panther of the Year, correct? For the Office of Leadership and Management at Eastern, which is pretty exciting. And she's a great young lady, and I'm sure you're proud, and
She takes after her mom.
you know that all of that came from her mother, Michelle. So congratulations to Peyton. And then with that, I'd really like to, I've been saying this for the last 18 months since this part of the sports complex project came along, from the city's standpoint, that this is going to be a transformative, once in a generation type of project. Blake, Brock, definitely, and all the folks from Rural King, can't thank you enough for your work so far on this. And John, thank you so much for your expertise and diligent work, as well as Mayor and Administrator Gill. Very exciting, and really look forward to seeing some dirt turned and some things start to develop out in that area. Very exciting times. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Commissioner Cox? Commissioner Graven?
I just want to say I'm glad it's finally moving forward. Not a big sports fanatic, but I am thrilled to death with the new restaurants or potential restaurants and shopping that may be coming. So other than that, all I got to say.
Okay. Any questions for Sandy? Commissioner Phipps?
Just Excellent work, guys. You guys, all the teams that are involved from the city, the steering committee, the complex, nonprofit, tireless hours, I know. And I was a little bit hesitant at the beginning, but man, you guys have really knocked it out of the park. No pun intended, it's sports complex, but I really do appreciate all the work and dedication to all the, especially with all the corporate partners involved as well. So that's all I have.
Any questions? Last but not least, I have a few comments to make. Tomorrow, Kyle and I are going to Springfield on Illinois Municipal League Lobby Day. There's a lot of other things going on in the city other than just sports complexes and housing issues. That's part of what we do on a regular basis. We're not working on the sports complex and housing issues, but there are some things happening at Lobby Day. We get a chance to spend some time with senators and representatives, and the governor will be there and tell us what he's going to do for the state and or not do. But anyway, it's an important role that we play, and we do lobby for certain things. There's a lot of things that go on in the city. We talked about a lot of things, day-to-day activities here today. So it's not all about housing projects or sports complexes. It's what runs the city. These guys over here, everybody that spoke, all the department heads, keep things going on. And that's a full-time job in addition to the other things. So anyway, that's all I have. The last thing that I asked for is a motion to adjourn. Would anybody like to adjourn tonight?
Mayor,
Yes?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. And would anybody like to second that?
I'll second that.
Second that? And now we take roll call on adjournment. Now you got to listen to these votes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Graven.
No.
Commissioner Fitz.
Yes.
Mayor Hall.
You should go. Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.
Good job.
Good job, Mayor.